Hey, what's up guys? So this is going to be another power aerial tutorial. And just like the last time, before I actually get into the tutorial, I'm going to do some rambling. So you can find the timestamps in the description again, in case you don't feel like listening and you just want to skip ahead to the actual tutorial. I don't actually have that much to ramble about today, but I remember back when I asked people what they might want me to talk about. Somebody asked me if I could talk about freestyling, and so I'm just going to go into some stuff about that today, kind of like the different ways that I see it and approach it. So there's two different ways that I see people being able to approach freestyling, and I'm not actually the best freestyler, I have to admit. I don't usually, especially in my videos, I don't usually freestyle. I'll just kind of get something in my head. I might freestyle to think up what I'm gonna do, but usually what I'll do is I'll come up with what I want to do, practice it a bunch of times, get it clean enough, because I don't see a reason to film something that I just freestyled and I could do any time of the day at any moment. I'd rather like film the stuff that is really hard for me and that really looks good and is something worth putting like up forever. Anyway, there's two different ways that I've seen, or like I've either approached it, or I've kind of talked to people and they've described the way they approach it. The first one is just kind of letting yourself fall into what feels good or natural. Like you'll just start, like, you just like you have like kind of a, just like you have a craving to flip, you kind of have a craving to do different moves. So you're just gonna go into different things that you're not really thinking about, but your body just kind of wants to do. And that's one way to freestyle, and that way is probably, especially to people who that just sounds weird to, who don't actually do that, it's the hardest way to get into freestyling, because it requires the highest level of like mastery, because your body is not going to want to freestyle, like it's not going to want to do things that are risky, that are hard, that you're unfamiliar with. And so your like vocabulary for your freestyle might be like very restricted if you do this approach early on before you're really comfortable with a lot of different stuff. you know that is kind of the drawback of that freestyling approach. But the advantage is that it looks really natural and clean, and I think it probably feels really good too. So if you do it that way, you really got to get familiar and comfortable with a lot of different moves. You have to get like a really high level of experience with those moves so that you can do them without having to really think. Like I think the biggest thing about that style is not thinking so much, just kind of improvising. And that's what most people think of freestyling. When they think of freestyling, they think of that way, but there's actually another way to do it, and that's the way that I do it. The alternative way is the way that I do it, and that's to basically kind of formulate these prepackaged combos. So just like 3 or 4 different moves put together, and you practice these moves. You get them almost to the point where like you're learning them like you're learning a new move. So you'll learn how each individual move in these kind of mini combos has to be put together. So you'll do even those like specific moves, you'll do them in specific ways to fit that combo. And like especially if you see how that combo looks, you can learn like, oh, if I do these moves this way, it'll make this combo look a lot better and go for what I'm going for with this combo. So you learn these mini combos, and then for a freestyle you can piece them together. So you can let your mind, just like in a freestyle, you can let your mind go when you're picking. After you have committed to one of these combos in your freestyle, then you can just kind of let your brain space out, just like in a freestyle, until you get to like the end and you got to think of what combo comes next, what combo. So you're just piecing these combos that you've already like pre-rehearsed together. And I don't know, maybe somebody might say that's not a freestyle, but I think I've seen a lot of people do it this way, and I would call it a freestyle, because you're still coming up with like what moves you're gonna do on the fly. Just you have some of prior knowledge of like how do these moves go. So the advantage of that alternative way is that you have a little bit more foresight. Like you've done this stuff before a lot more, so you know what you're doing, and it's a lot more accessible, especially to like people early on. It's hard to get that level of mastery to just do like rattle off move after move after move without thinking about it. So having these kind of like mini combos that you can just pull up in your freestyle works a lot better. It's the way I like to do it even now, even though I probably could at this point start trying to do like just throwing in moves together, but for some reason I always think too much and my brain stutters and then my hand stutters and it messes up the freestyle, so I prefer this way even now. Okay, I'm done talking about freestyling because I actually talked about it way more than I thought I would. So now I'm going to move into this tutorial for a power aerial that I'm calling the 180 because I haven't seen anybody else call it anything so far, so I don't know of any other names. And I really haven't seen anybody else do it, but it's an awesome move, so I hope that changes after people see this video. Okay, now to do the 180, as you can see in the video, what you need to do is throw it from behind your back across your body, and the Balisong is going to be going horizontally across your body. And so the Balisong is going to be horizontal as well, and it's going to come in front of you, and you're going to catch it with the same hand that you threw it with, overhand. I actually really like to put this move in the body of my routines. I mean, it can work in the beginning. It could make a cool like starter, but it does not really make a cool ender. I could see how you could do it, but it's not. I don't know. It's kind of a waste because there's a couple different things about this move that make it really cool for the middle. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife where you can do a lot of different things with this move. You can loop it. It looks really good looped. You can also go straight from this catching this 180 move. You can go right into a really cool power aerial. Like you could go into the halo. You could also go into the snatch from there. You could do a lot of different cool stuff. You could also catch it with the opposite hand and kind of interrupt the flow. Because the reason why this move can look cool looped is because it flows really well. It just really looks like the Balisong's going in a nice flow, and then if you catch it with the opposite hand, you kind of interrupt that flow and switch it up, just kind of switch it to go in the other direction, so that can look good too. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with this move, and it makes it puts some nice meat on the body of your routines. Okay, now for the moves that I would suggest you practice before you go into learning the 180, I can only really suggest two different moves to kind of learn the throw, get familiar with the throw before you go into the 180 practice. But the one catch that I would suggest is behind the back throw, where you just kind of modify your grip so that your hand throws the Balisong at an angle, so your wrist is going to have to turn a little bit, and you're going to throw it at an angle so that the Balisong goes across your body at a 180 degree instead of like a vertical just up and in front of you. Now the first move that I would suggest you practice before you do the 180 to practice the catch, just like the first level of practicing the catch, is this move. I think maybe somebody called it the flying saucer or something like that. And it's just same hand, you just throw it up, it does like one rotation, and then you catch it overhand. And it's literally the same catch, just not a power aerial. And then the next move that I would suggest you practice before you go into learning the 180 is this. It's basically the same move that I just suggested, but you're swapping hands now. And this is just kind of like a next step towards that big power aerial of the 180. And so it's kind of like stepping stones to that really big catch, and so this is a good one to practice before you go into attempting the 180. So that's everything that I wanted to talk about for this video. This is actually longer than I expected it to be for sure. I thought this was going to be like 8 or 9 minutes, and I think it's getting closer to 13. I think that's just because I'm getting more comfortable on here, and so I'm getting more talky. I don't know if I'm gonna keep that up. I might try to like shoot for 10 minutes from now on rather than like 13 or 15 minutes. But that's it for this video, and so I'm gonna let my Instagram video from this Saturday be the outro as usual. Alright, see you guys.